Established in 2006, Ireland Davenport has been very successful in spearheading their advertising agency in this highly competitive industry that is constantly driven by creativity. But what does it take to start an advertising agency? Founders of the agency, Phillip Ireland and John Davenport, are here to shed some light. Welcome Phillip and John, and Andre, who's still with us. Thank you so much. Phillip, how difficult is it to start up an agency?
Well, apparently it's quite easy if we can do it.
It's true.
No, it was. Yeah.
Is it about having the right dress sense?
Well, no. I mean, it was very, very challenging, but it was certainly well worth doing. We've had an incredible amount of fun. It was a little silly doing it at first. There were a lot of really safe jobs we could have done, but we were quite ambitious to start our own thing and bring something new to the marketplace. And I think that was the key difference that allowed us to actually succeed, was the fact that we brought something new to the market. Yeah. I think a lot of people come with the same sort of offerings that the bigger, more established companies have, and they fail because that offer exists already. And what we brought, we felt we had to bring something fresh and new to the market.
Yeah. Well, what was the fresh and new aspect that you brought in?
Well, I think what works really well for us is we've never wanted to be the biggest agency in the world. What we do want to do is offer excellent service to clients and make great ads for them. And I think, if we sort of staying a medium-sized agency, I think really enables us to do that. So that's a strong part of our vision.
Yeah. Andre, is that just enough for an agency to have the fun aspect and think that they're actually bringing something new? Because that's what most ad agencies want to bring.
I think in our industry, being different is quite important, and standing for something is very important. So what I'm hearing is these guys set out to be a very smallish to medium-sized company, highly creative, very good from a service point of view. And clients that are interested in that offering would be attracted to them. Yeah. And I think in our industry, the hardest thing to do is to be different to everybody else, because there's so many guys that say we're an agency.
Yeah, and everyone delivers good service.
Absolutely. So what is it that makes you different? What is your philosophy, your values, your culture? And then how do you attract talent and clients? That's fundamental to what we do.
Yeah. So what is your philosophy, Phillip? Not your philosophy.
No, we've got a very simple philosophy, but I think one of the we've worked at the elite agencies in the country, and we found that there were things that they were superb at and they were really, really good at, but they dropped the ball on a few things that other agencies were better at than them, but didn't do what they did so well. So we wanted to get
Give
that balance right.
Give us an example of where they dropped the ball.
The creative industry is full of prima donnas. I know it's hard to believe, but we firmly believe that it's absolutely not necessary to behave like that to create excellent work. You have to be very good, and you also have to be very, very nice. The two things are not mutually exclusive, and I think it leads to long-term relationships. We don't sort of strip mine our clients and show them the door. We develop them and nurture them for long-term relationships, and I think the relationships we've built with our clients at the moment are testimony to that.
Yeah, that's what you mean by great service, yeah.
Yeah.
John, at what point did you realize that you got getting the right mix in terms of your philosophy, great service, etc.?
I think an agency is like any product. It's when you start to see response from customers, which in our case would be clients. When you start to see that happening, you start to get the feeling that maybe you're in the right area. Obviously there's a lot of guesswork involved, and a lot of the time you get it wrong, but I think the response we've had from clients and the kind of clients that we've targeted, the fact that they've appreciated our offering, has to some extent shown that we're getting something right.
I'd like to add to that. I think it's also about reputation. So what is your reputation amongst your peers? Yeah. And how do marketers out there see you and perceive you? So if you say the words Ireland Davenport, do they have a very strong reputation in the industry? Are clients wanting to work for them, and importantly, work with them, and are people in the industry from a creative and talent point of view wanting to work at Ireland Davenport? So that's what ultimately success is about, because if you get the right clients wanting to work with you and the right talent, which is everything in our industry, that's fundamentally your key measures of success.
Yeah, that's also being very astute in terms of business, definitely. Yeah,
100%.
How did you weather the global financial crisis?
Yeah, it was a tough year, and I think everyone's slightly irritated with the merchant bankers of the UK and the US. But yeah, I mean, we were going through a growth phase in our business at the time, so that.
You mean prior to the global
yes.
downturn? Yeah.
Yeah. So that enabled us to get through it reasonably intact. I think everyone had to work harder for their money that year, and we were certainly no exception. And we'd started to do some work outside of South Africa as well, which sort of diversified our client base and enabled us to weather the storm. We were doing work in Africa and in Germany and in the UK as well.
That's quite surprising, because that was a time when people were all, cutting costs, not going overseas with, jobs, etc. So how did you get that?
Sure. Again, we'd grown our relationship with South African-based clients to their parent multinationals through the work we were doing here and the reputation we built in South Africa. We'd been invited to pitch on international work. We'd won some of those, and I think it was key because before the recession came to South Africa, it hit strongly in the first world, and because we were working in those environments with those clients, we kind of got a heads up really strongly on what was coming, and we were able to structure accordingly.
Yeah. Did you have to cut costs, come up with a totally different strategy to what you had?
Not really. In fact, I think probably we did the opposite, was we carried on doing what we were doing, but even more so. So offering even better value for clients, nurturing those relationships even more, because obviously it's a recession like that poses a real danger to client relationships. And that's almost a time where you want to be investing in them even more rather than less.
Yeah. Andre, what companies, what ad agencies did you see surviving the global downturn with correct strategies?
Internationally, we saw the advertising agencies come under pressure. So the guys that were mainly in advertising. I think we saw activation, there was consistent growth in activation and quite a lot of growth in experiential marketing and digital marketing. So where the ad agencies were struggling with very little growth, activation and digital marketers and agencies really weren't as badly affected. And then I think obviously the first world was much worse affected than us in the emerging markets, particularly in South Africa.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to end off with you quickly, Phillip. What advice would you give to people that are wanting to start ad agencies?
Just stay true to what they want to do. Have a defining principle in the beginning and stick to that, because a principle's not a principle till it costs you money. You're going to go through tough times, but if you stick to that principle, it's what's going to get you to the end.
All right, on that sweet note, Phillip, John, Andre, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.